Today we're going to get into being able to interpret graphs, and we're going to be looking at different types of charts and graphs and stem and leaf plots, bar graphs, circle graphs. But today we're going to get into bar graphs and circle graphs, which are graphs you've actually learned in the past. We're just going to do a quick recap today. So a pie chart is the first one, and we also call this a circle chart. So a circle is divided proportionally. So we start with a circle. Let me write that over. So we have a circle, and it's divided into sections, not necessarily equal sections, but it's proportionally divided such that each section shows what percentage of the whole the slice represents. All right, and each section has a category that is assigned to it. The category will be numbered on the circle graph or the pie chart, and it's also going to tell you what percent the category represents. So the size of each slice depends on how much of the pie is given to it based on its percentage. So these charts are simple to understand generally. It's visually very easy to tell which one represents a bigger part and which one represents a smaller part, and these convey information regarding the relative size of groups more readily than one does a table. So if I just gave you a table with information with a whole bunch of numbers, it's not as easy to tell what's bigger based off the table rather than having a pie graph, which easily lets you see visually and quickly what each section represents. Let's go ahead and move on to the next page. And so the next kind of graph we're going to be focusing on today is a bar graph, or bar chart, as some people may call them. And these show the percentages in various categories and allows comparisons between categories. So you can see vertically how they compare to each other and the size as well. So on these, we have a vertical scale. And let me fix that. And this vertical scale shows a frequency, it shows a relative frequency, or for us, we're going to be focusing on the percentage, or how often something happens. And the horizontal scale shows categories. So bar graphs show categories, and then they're listed in vertical form. And this is not to be confused with a histogram, which looks similar to a bar graph. So consider the following in constructing bar graphs. So all the boxes should have the same width. We're going to leave gaps between the boxes because there is no connection between them. So we leave gaps, and the order does not matter. So they can be in any order. And that's not how you spell order. Order. Again, this is not a histogram, which is the one that has the bars that are connected to each other. This is different from a histogram where there's ranges and they're connected. And bar graphs can be used to represent two categorical variables simultaneously, and we'll see some of these in your practice as well. All right, let's go ahead and get into our examples. So we have this bar graph on the right based on the favorite types of music and the students how many students chose hip hop, classical rock, or jazz. And what we're going to be doing with this information, we are going to be creating a pie chart that goes with this bar graph. So we're taking this bar graph and we're going to switch it into a pie chart. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a circle here. And based off of that, now I'm going to go ahead and split this circle up into sections. It's going to be into 4 sections, one for hip hop, classical, rock, and jazz. By looking at it, we should know that the jazz section is going to be the biggest, rock section is going to be the smallest. So I'm going to go ahead and figure out what percent each section is going to represent. So I know that this one is 60. I know this one is 40. I know the next one is 35, and the last one is 70. So there is a total of, I'm going to add these numbers, 70 plus 60 plus 40 plus 35. So I can see how many total there are. So we have 5. We're going to add 7 and 6 is 13, plus 4 is 17, plus 3 is 20. So there are a total of 205 students that were surveyed. So this is going to be my total here. So now I'm going to go ahead and figure out each section. So I'm going to go ahead and start with hip hop. And I know for hip hop, there are a total of 60 students out of 205 students. And I'm going to go ahead and divide that. And that is approximately 29%. I'm just going to do it to the nearest whole number. Now I'm going to do the next one, classical. Let me fix that. classical. And there are 40 out of 205 students who chose that as their music. So we take 40 divided by 205. That gives me approximately 19.5%. Let's go round it to 20%, just to make the chart easier to graph later. Go ahead and do rock and jazz on your own. Pause the video, and then we'll go ahead and start graphing the chart. So these are the fractions you should have gotten for both of the rock and jazz, and you should have converted them to percents, which would have given you the following. So we should have gotten 17% for rock and jazz 34. If you go ahead and add 29, 20, 17, and 34, that adds up to 100%. So we know we have our percents correctly. Now let's go ahead and subdivide our pie chart into 4 sections that approximate each of those. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm going to draw a dot in the middle. So about 34%, I'm going to do the biggest one first, 34%. This is about a third of the circle, because 34 is about a third of a circle. It's about 33.3. So I'm going to do that right there. So I'm going to make this section here the section that is jazz. I'm going to put 34% in there. Then the next section, 29%, it's about a third. It's still close to the 1/3, but slightly less than 1/3. So I'm going to subdivide it there. I'm going to put hip hop here. That's 29%. And then the rock and the classical. Rock's going to be a little bit smaller than classical, so I'm going to try to kind of do it in half, but it's slightly smaller, so like that. So I'm going to do classical, which is the bigger wedge. And then I'm going to have rock as the last one. Classical is 20%. And then we have rock as our last one, which is going to be 17%. And we just converted this histogram, this bar graph into a circle graph. All right, let's go ahead and move on to numbers 2 and 3. Make this a little bit smaller. All right, let's go ahead and use the information in the frequency table to make our bar graph. And I think I could cut off, the direction's gonna cut off on the paper, so to make the bar graph. So let's go ahead and look at our information. We have 2 categories. We have favorite color, and we have the gender of the person choosing the favorite color. So we're gonna have 2 bars per color, so it's gonna be a double bar graph. So for the first one, we have red for boys, and we have girls 1. So looking at our little chart here, we have something already assigned to us. We're gonna do solids for boys and stripes for girls. So let's go ahead and start drawing those charts, or those bars, I should say. So under red, I'm gonna draw a bar that goes up to 6, approximately. So I'm just gonna try my best to draw it as best as possible. So about 6 would be right here. And that's the solid one for boys. And girls go up to 1, so it's gonna be very tiny little bar. And we'll just put little stripes on it. All right, now we're gonna do the blue ones. Boys are 2 and girls are 4. So we're gonna go, boys go up 2. I'm gonna change the color just so it can look different. So it's gonna go up 2 little spots, and that's gonna be solid. And girls, we have 4, which is gonna be slightly taller, but not at the 5 quite there. And then we're gonna do the green, which is gonna be 1 for the boys again. I'm sorry, 1 for the boys, it's not again. So it's gonna be smaller than the previous one. So let's go ahead and do a little tiny one here, about 1. And then we're gonna go 2 for the girls. So we're gonna go slightly bigger on this one. And those are my bar graphs. I should probably just change the scale instead, but it's already been drawn, so we're good. All right, let's go ahead and, actually we need to delete this because we weren't doing percents, so let's just get rid of that. Let's just put, actually let's put, not percent, but put number here. Let's put number here. And my thing disappeared, so let's just pretend it's still there. All right, last one. Let's go ahead and do number 3. So there are 75 students being surveyed. Of those students, 45 are listed as drinking milk and 30 are listed as drinking juice. So let's write that information out. So 45 drink milk of the 70 total, 75 total. And 30 drink juice. And if 20 students are listed as drinking both, we need to figure out how many do not drink either. So we're looking for the one that don't drink none of the two. So that's our question. So the thing is, what's the best way to represent this data? In this case, it's going to be easier to do a circle graph here. So let's go ahead and draw a circle graph. So we want to find the milk value, the juice value, and where the students drink both. So we're going to find an intersection of two circle graphs. So I'm going to draw two circles. This one's going to be the number of students that drink milk, and this one's the ones that drink juice. Now it's easier to start with the middle one because this is where we have both happening, students that drink both milk and juice. So we're going to fill that in with the number of students that drink both milk and juice, which is 20 of the total students. Now, the circle on the left side, I'm going to highlight it with a different color. Let's see, let's go with green. So this circle right here already includes 20 students that have the overlap. So since 20 are already counted in the milk, we have 45 total drinking milk. So I'm going to just do a quick calculation and do 45 minus 20. That means there's still another 25 students to go in this section because both these sections need to add up to 45. Do the same thing for the right side. So this circle right here is for the juice. There's already 20 there, and juice is 30 students. So from the 30 students, I'm going to subtract 20, which leaves me 10 more for this section here. So the circle in orange adds up to 30. The circle in green adds up to 45, as they should. So we have our conditions met, 45, 20, and oops, I accidentally deleted the picture, but I just did a quick redraw. So now the question is, how many students are listed as drinking neither of them? So this graph represents who's drinking milk and who's drinking juice, which is a total of 25, 20, and 10. So the 25, the 20, and the 10 add up to students who are drinking something, and that's going to be 5, so that's 55 total are drinking something. So these kids are drinking some kind of beverage. We want to figure out the ones that are not drinking either beverage. And there are a total of 75 students. So from the 75 students, I'm going to subtract 55, which are the ones who are drinking something, to give me a total of 20 who are not drinking anything. So my final answer would be 20 students are not drinking either milk or juice. I'm going to clear this out and write that out as a sentence. Make sure you do as well. So final answer is 20 students drink neither. And we are done with the notes, so go ahead and get started on your practice pages. There's tons of them, so get to work. Don't waste time.